girl Toya T, and this is episode 5 of Insecure. Shady as fuck. Ooh, I loved this episode. I loved it so much. And I don't think the best way for me to break it down is to go by character. And so that's what I'm going to do, main character by main character. Starting off with Lawrence because he has the smallest section of this episode. Lawrence, we meet back up with him. We see him he's having dinner and drinks with his friend from the first episode. So I didn't really talk about his friend, but he had called some friends on the first episode after he'd forgotten Issa's birthday, and they were out having drinks, and this friend was just like, yada, 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 but he was kind of listening, but kind of not, because there was a game on, they were at a sports bar, and so he kind of just hung up on Lawrence, and so we see him meeting up with this friend. So now that he's out of his depression and his funk, now he's reconnecting with his friends, and so he goes and meets up with this friend to talk about, what's going on. And so the guy, they're a chicken waffle place, which yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy. It's great, but I love that they added that on there. So they're having some chicken and waffles, and the guy's telling him, the friend, and I can't remember his name, but he was telling Lawrence that, he's getting married. And Lawrence like, wow, when did this happen? Like, what's going on here? How long have you known her? And he's like, I haven't known her that long, but when you know, like, I was selling her, he's a real estate agent. He's like, I was selling her a loft, and then I found out that I ended up moving into it. And so he's telling Lawrence this, and Lawrence seems to be kind of contemplating his relationship, what's going on, because the friend asked him how's it going with with Issa, and he said it's fine. And the friend remembered the conversation they had about him forgetting Issa's birthday, so he's like, I thought you said you didn't care about her. And Lawrence is like, no, I do care about her. He's like, but I said I forgot her birthday. He's like, that's the same thing as saying you don't care about her. Like, if you can't even muster up enough energy to remember your girlfriend's birthday and to celebrate, I mean, he remembered it, but to celebrate it the way that that she'd want to, especially a girlfriend of 5 years, then you obviously don't care. And so you could see Lawrence's wheels turning like, oh, okay. And then he's thinking about this friend that only met this girl a couple of months ago and is now getting married to her. And we find out that the friend, the woman that he's engaged to, is getting a divorce. So he like slips in there that, oh, we just decided like, hey, while you get your divorce, let's just get married at the same time and just cut out, get a marriage certificate at the same time and just, cut out on the lawyer fees. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it took Lawrence a while to notice what the guy said, like, wait, what a second. But I think the wheel started to turn when he started to think like, hey, I've been with Issa for 5 years. Like, what am I doing? And this friend told him like, when you know, and if you were working on yourself, why don't you work on it? Like, why don't you work towards it if that's what you want to do? So that is one part of Lawrence's story. We pick up with Lawrence later in the day, and he's at his job at Best Buy, and he did a little like computer display. When you go into there and they have like things going on in the different monitors. So he did that, and homegirl from the bank, sister girl from the bank, showed up, and she came in full. I mean, I wish that I could, she came, like I told you, that her boobs were just like poop when we first met her. And of course, that was at work. Now that she's off work, she shows up to come see Lawrence, because obviously that's the only reason that she came in there. And she's like up here like, hey, well, that's how I imagined it. And he's like, oh, wow, I didn't even recognize you. And she's like, yeah, I clean up well outside of my work clothes. And again, tits up to his face. Like, all I was looking at was her boobs. I mean, they were just on full display. I don't know how he was looking her in the eyes, because she does have a nice body. And I was just like, wow, she came to get Lawrence, because you dress like that coming into the Best Buy after work. She was looking to get some Lawrence. But so she's talking to him, and he's like, oh, you coming to get a new computer? And she's like, no, I came here to actually get batteries. And he's like, well, the batteries are at the front of the store, so you don't need to be over here. And you can tell that she's like really trying to find a way to pull him in, like, oh, well, yeah, okay. I'm about to go get me some jalapeno poppers and some margaritas. Don't you get off work soon? And he's finally catching that she is throwing the punani at him. Just throwing it, just throwing it, and bouncing it off of her bosoms. I need to stop doing that. I feel like I'm violating myself. And so he stops it right there, and and I'm telling you, I wasn't sure if Lawrence was going to not have a relationship issue by engaging in this kind of flirtation with this girl, but he cut it off real quick and told her, well, I have a girlfriend. And he said it really slow so that she could hear all of the words. I have a girlfriend. And he put the sorry face on, like, I don't want to, like, you can still be cool, but I have a girlfriend. And homegirl, sister girl from the bank, you know, her face cracks and she's like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, so I'll see you around. And she walks out, and Lawrence is just like, oh my gosh, that was very awkward, because, you know, she had these intentions toward him and he just was not getting any of it, because he's very much, as he told Issa at the end of the second episode, that he's in it. He is all in. And so he's trying to work on this relationship, and that was just sign from that. So that's the last that we see of Lawrence. Moving on to Molly, because I gotta leave Issa's story for last. Her story is the best. We get into Molly. We see her at, this is all just so shady and delicious and yummy and getting juicy. So we meet up back with Molly, and we're in her boudoir, and she's in the bed with Jidenna, because, you know, I don't remember his name. I think his name is Chris, but his name is Chris, but we're just gonna call him Jidenna because he was there in all his Jidenna glory there in the bed. You know, he's kissing on her shoulder. He got his coiffed hair and his shirtless, and he's in there, and you know, obviously they just had they did the business. They had some sexual relations. And it was the morning after, and they're having little sweet, you know, bed talk, and they're making out in the morning. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll see y'all. And then this is when Molly, whoo, girl, I told you I identify with Molly, but I look at her like, damn, do I do that? Are we in the same boat, girlfriend? Like, seeing her is like, am I looking in a mirror? Because I see her faults, and then I'm like, damn, why did you do that? But I know sometimes I've done stuff like that. So she's talking to him and telling him that she has to go to her engagement party for her office mate, the Asian girl that's getting engaged to the black guy, Jamal. I'm forgetting their names. I hate just calling the Asian girl and the black boy. Her office mate. So she is going to the engagement party, and she's like, oh, what are you doing later? You know, you should come with me. And really putting it out there that she really wants him to come to the engagement party with her. And his face is just like, okay. And he's like, well, I got to go home anyway, because I got to go to work and go change my clothes. I can't go to work in jeans. And she's like, oh, okay, well, maybe next time you should just bring a suit with you. He's like, oh, I should just bring suits on my dates. And she's like, you can just leave one here. And his face was just like, ooh, I'm going to go now. Just like when she was talking to homeboy, her second date, the other dude from the Elite, the League dating app, and when she asked him, like, why don't you just call me and let me know when you got home? And it's like, ooh, girlfriend, you are really asking for some girlfriend, boyfriend type behavior, and y'all have just met. Y'all are just dating, and maybe y'all have had sexual relations and you've seen each other's goodies. But that does not mean that you're in a relationship. And I know that just sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that is dating in 2016. So I just saw his face crack, and I was like, oh my gosh, girl, he's about to curve you. He's about to ghost. He's about to be gone. Like, how did you say it? It was going so good. Oh my gosh. And so he gets up and he's like, and then she's still telling him about this engagement party. And he's like, oh, well, okay, I'll see if I can make it, you know. And she's like, well, I have to put on a +1 because it's a formal event. And he's like, okay, you can put me down, but I'll let you know. So she's all happy, like, oh, I'm getting Chris to come with me. I don't like that name. Just call him Jidenna. Jidenna's coming with me. Jidenna was looking good. Anyway, so later on, so I gotta bring Issa into it because she's there, but I'll cut that out for later. So eventually we'll meet up with Molly again, and she goes to the engagement party, and she was getting ready for that, and she was like texting Chris like, oh, how close are you? And he's like, I'm at work. I don't know if I'm gonna, you know, I'm stuck here. And she's like, well, do you want me to wait for you? And he's like, no. And I was like, ooh, dude, he's ghosting you, girl. But he didn't ghost because he responded, he was curving her. I was like, oh, he's about to just make that, you going this way, and he's about to make that full U-turn away from you, like, this is what Jadena was about to do. So I was like, oh man. He's like, well, just go on ahead without me, and, you know, don't wait for me. And so she's all upset, and she goes to the engagement party, and we get to meet her office mate's fiance. He's like, you know, tall, good looking, but they go well together. You can tell they're both kind of like goofy and corny, and so they work well together. And of course, they're asking her, since she put the +1 on there, just freaking messing up her whole life. Like, oh gosh, girl, don't do it. And she put the +1 on there, and they're like, oh, where's the new boyfriend? And he's like, she's like, oh, you know, he got stuck at work. She started to him and haw about it until Chris Jadena, aka Jadena, shows up, and he has 2 glasses of wine, and she's like, oh my gosh. And of course, her office mate's nosy fiance is like, oh, who's this? Is the new boyfriend? And Jadena says, yes, you know, like, you know, because Molly was about to be like, well, we, you know, that whole weird kind of space, because again, she's only just met him, and she's already inviting him to meet her friends and her coworkers and come to this thing with her. And so it was weird. She didn't know what to call it. And so he just said, this is my, you know, her boyfriend. And she's so happy after she hears this. They're all, you know, mingling. And then eventually they go off and they start talking. And she's like, so boyfriend, that's new. Did you mean it? And he was like, I thought we had an understanding. And she's like, what? What do you mean? Now Molly's face cracks. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me, what should I have understood? What was the understanding? He's like, well, you were putting off that you really wanted me to come to this thing, so I didn't want to embarrass you. It felt like you needed to be saved, like you needed to win. That's what he said. Not saved. He needed the win. You needed the win. Like she needed to not come off like the loser, single friend that just can't get or keep a man. So he came in and was like, yes, I'm your boyfriend, just to save face for her. But he didn't mean anything by it. He's like, you know, we just met, and Molly's getting mad. Like, why would you say that? That's ridiculous. You know, I don't need you to save me. What am I, pathetic? And he's, you know, Jadena's trying to explain that, you know, you made it very clear that you needed me. You really wanted me to come to this thing, and you don't even know me. We've only been dating for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple, you know, not that long. We don't even know each other, and you're inviting me to you're inviting me to the engagement party, and she also invited him to the wedding, like 6 months in advance. Like, you were inviting me to things that you need to RSVP for 6 months in advance. Like, who does that? Like, we don't even know each other to be doing that kind of stuff. And I just knew it was over. I was like, oh my gosh. And I just felt so embarrassed for Molly. And she finally got it, like, oh my gosh, I've done it again. What have I done? And so she asked him to leave. She's like, you know what? I'm not some loser that you're giving charity to. Like, leave. And so he leaves. And feels like an absolute fool. And so she's at this engagement party with lots of free drinks and an open bar, I think, which is the bar in general. And she's just knocking them back and looking at the couple like, I was like, ooh, girl, this is the time when you start sending out drunk texts. But it did not happen. I thought it was, but she did actually something worse. And we'll talk about that after I get into Issa's story. So we come up on Issa, and we pick up from the broken pussy freaking fiasco with the kids, and they are still rapping this song, and it's so ridiculous. They're like, hey, Miss Issa, broken pussy. Maybe it really smells. Maybe it's hard as hell, broken. And they're just singing the song, and she feels so embarrassed. She's at work. She's worried about her job because these kids keep singing this inappropriate song, and she's afraid it's going to get back to her boss. She's apologizing to the teacher because she's so embarrassed by this thing. And the kids even one of the kids actually made a meme from it, and out of her with a Kim Kardashian cry face, and then put the broken pussy thing on there. And she's like, oh my gosh, so mortified by what is happening here. And, you know, I told you, middle school kids are rough. They will not forget that until something else crazy happens. And so she's so upset about this. She's trying to think, how can I deal with this? How can I get this? Because the video's on YouTube. That's how they found her. And so she thinks, oh, let me go to Molly. So bringing back Molly. Let's go to Molly and get her to take the video down. or sue somebody to get the video down. And so she goes to Molly and tells her this, like, I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to lose my job over this. And so Molly's being the lawyer that she is and is very rational and calm and says, okay, who made the video? And she's like, Issa's like, I don't know. And so she's like, well, so who am I supposed to sue and intimidate if I don't have a person to go after? And so now they're brainstorming on how to find out. So they start off with thinking like Daniel, maybe he would know because that's why they came to the event. And so she's like, okay, I can ask Daniel and see if he knows who put up the video. And then Molly's like, well, you know, Jared, you know, the guy that she curbed for the lead guys, she's like, oh, I can ask him because his brother was performing at the club that night, and so maybe he might know. So she's like, I'll call him. And then the best moment happens when, so she's like, okay, I'll call Jared. And so Issa's like, thanks, and just sits there and is like playing with stuff on Molly's desk. And Molly looks up at her like, you know that I'm a real lawyer, right? Like, I actually work here. Like, I actually am being paid to do work here while you're sitting here staring at me, so you might have to go. And so I love that moment. So Issa leaves. Molly calls Jared. So this is the part where I said I wanted to stop for a second. Molly calls Jared, and he's like, oh, hey, friend, because, you know, she friended him, friend-zoned him. And so she's like, well, you know, remember my friend Issa? I just needed to know. I know your brother was at the club that night. I wonder if he knows anyone that might have posted a video of her doing that song. And he said, well, I'll check into it for you, but is there anything else that you want? Is this the only thing that you called me for? And she's like, well, you know, I've also missed hearing from you. How's things going on? And you can tell he's so annoyed with her. Like, you friend zoned me and now you want to talk to me. And so he's still being nice. Obviously, he still likes Molly. And so he's like, you know, having small talk with her. And of course, Molly's office mate comes up and goes, who's that? Is that Chris? And Jared can hear, and he's like, oh, Chris, who's Chris? He sounds real friendly. And Molly picks up on like, oh no, see, and he's like, well, you know, whatever. We said we friends. So they get off the phone. Molly's like, oh my gosh, girl, do not ever, let's stop playing the who Molly's on the phone with game, because you're awful at it and you're just getting me an issue. So that's where we break off there. Let's go back to Issa. Issa meets up with Daniel, and they go to the club, and he says that he couldn't, you know, no one knew who posted the video, and she's really upset about it. And so he's like, you know, I'm gonna help you out. I really feel bad because I shouldn't have told the kids. I shouldn't have told the kids about you rapping. And so she's like, yeah, okay, well, he said, I'm gonna help you figure it out. We'll find out who it is, and we'll ghost them, and not in the, you know, not call you no more kind of way, but like, and let's beat the hell out of them kind of way thing. He was trying to show that he was down for it. He was being a ride or die. And so he asked her for a ride to the studio because that's where he works. And he's like, well, I have to go to the studio. Can you give me a ride? Which I think was ulterior motives. Like, dude, how do you get around LA if you don't have a car, or you don't have an Uber or a Lyft or some kind of thing to get to work? So he was obviously looking to have some extra time with Miss Issa. And we find out that this was not a good thing. I was like, girl, no. How did he get there in the first place? He can get to work that way. Tell him you gotta go someplace else. You gotta go run some errands. Don't let that sexy man in your car, girl. Oh. And so she brings him to the studio. And he's like, yeah, you should come in. You know, you're still stressed out. You don't want to drive when you're upset. And, you know, just come in and relax for a few minutes. And so she goes in, and he's working with these lame ass rappers. It's so lame. They're in there smoking weed and drinking, and she comes in like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? And, you know, Daniel goes straight to work, getting the beats together, and one of the guys goes into the booth, and he puts out the lamest, slowest, most ridiculous rap ever that is so representative of the times. Like, yeah. How many blunts have you smoked? How many drinks have you had? So ridiculous. And Issa's making a face like, this is so lame. And she's looking at Daniel, and they're laughing. And, you know, so she stays there longer, hanging out with them. And she's having a couple of drinks with them. You know, they're drinking that brown liquor. You know that it was probably some Hennessy up in there. So, not to be stereotypical, but it looked like some brown liquor. You could see it, but it was clear in the glass. But I don't know. But So so she's hanging out, the session ends, the guys leave, and Lisa's about to leave too. She's like, I'm gonna leave. And then Daniel is like, no, stay, let's talk, and then he goes into, and this is when I knew, I was like, girlfriend, you need to leave. But she doesn't leave, so she's talking to him, and he's sitting real close to her, and again, I'm like, girl, move back. Like, there's liquor, there's like marijuana smoke in there, and you got dark space, like dim lights, couch, sexy man. This is not going to work out well for you. And so he's asking her, why did you never give me a chance? Because apparently they used to be friends with benefits, and they knew each other from high school. And she's like, well, we were long distance, and we were friends with benefits. And you remember when I came back from college that first summer, you were the first person I wanted to hang out with, and we had this great day together, and I thought that you were going to ask me to be more serious and to take this to the next level, but you did not. You did not ask me to be a girlfriend, and so that's on you, why things didn't work out. But again, once he started asking the question about why you never gave me a chance, she should have left. She should have done what Lawrence did and say, I got a boyfriend. No, but she didn't. She let the talk continue, and he gets real close. He starts touching on her ear. I was like, girl, he's going to try to kiss you or something. Move away, get up, it's time to go. But she continues, and he's like, well, maybe I wasn't ready. I was stupid back then. I wasn't ready, but I'm ready now. He goes in for the kiss, and he kisses her. She allows him to kiss her. She doesn't stop him. She doesn't slap him. She doesn't push him. She lets him kiss her. She doesn't kiss him back, but she lets him kiss her. And then she's like, well, and she starts to mumble about, it's too late. She didn't even say I have a boyfriend. She just said, it's too late. And then she's like, fuck it. You can see the face. She just said, fuck it. Let me just do it. And so she kisses him back, and that's when the shit pops off, and it got steamy. Remember this thing I talked about with them her and Lawrence trying to have sex in the shower, and that was just not sexy. It was just in theory sexy. This was sexy. I mean, just brown chocolate bodies everywhere, clothes flying off. They were wasting no time. There was no foreplay. It was just straight to it. And I loved it because Daniel has a body. He opened up that shirt. I was like, it's over. It is over. He took off his pants. You can see his little butt on there. It's like tight and round. And it's like, it is over, girl. It is over. It is over. It's over. And they had themselves a very good 3-minute sex scene. It was great. Didn't have to show nothing, but it was steamy and hot. This was on some scandal level. Just love it. Oh my gosh. I need to find this Daniel man. But so that happens, and so post-coitus, Issa went to the bathroom to go, wash her hands, and then she's looking in the mirror and she's smiling that was good. Oh my gosh, I've been holding that in. I don't think Lawrence has been putting it down because he was depressed and they had all those issues, so she wasn't getting it. And that shower shit did not pop off, so she got it from her, her supposed to be her longing, her crush, her man and crush every time if she was single. So yeah, she's washing off her hands, and she sees the pump, and it reminds her of when they went to the furniture store to buy a new couch, and they see a couple that's arguing over this older couple arguing over the husband wanted to buy a lotion pump, and the wife is like, that's so freaking stupid. Lotion comes in a bottle. Why do you want another bottle to put your lotion in? And so he's like, I hate you. And so they laugh so hard at how where this couple's relationship is, and Issa told Lawrence that he could have a lotion pump if he wanted to, and she wouldn't stop him. And so that was a kind of a cute moment between them that happened in the earlier episode that kind of showed their bond. So when she looks down and sees the lotion pump, she remembers Lawrence. It's triggering, symbol of their relationship and the promise that they made to each other to have a new start. And so she rushes out of there. She puts her shirt on, and we see Daniel and his sexy ass, and I mean literally his sexy ass. His ass is showing. Asleep on the couch in the studio, and she grabs on herself quietly and runs out. And that's how the episode ends. But before that, in between, I told you I couldn't fully do Molly because she had some parts in there. So I already told you she called Jared. And so when we left her off with her, what I just said, she was at the engagement party getting drunk. drunk. And I was like, girl, I really thought it was going to be drunk texting. And I told you she did something worse. She popped up at Jared's place. She shows up and he's just like, what do you want? Like, you already friend zoned me and now you're here. And so she's like, well, you know, I missed you. And he's like, he's just so disgusted that she's there. And so, you know, he's a good guy. And she's like, well, can I use your bathroom? Because, you know, she's drinking. She needs to use the bathroom. She's like, you know, probably going to pee on herself if he didn't let her in. So he lets her in. And we find out that she pretty much was vomiting in the bathroom. And so we see him pretty much like she's like laid out on his couch. He puts a cover on her and puts a bucket underneath her and goes into his room. So he doesn't even bring her into the bed. And that's how much of a great guy he is, because he just kind of leaves her to herself. Plus, no one wants to sleep with a sloppy drunk chick. I mean, if she's throwing up in the bathroom, she's probably going to throw up on you in the bed. So it's cool that it ended like that for Molly and them. So we're going to pick up with them in next episode. And so many things that were so freaking shady in there. The things that Molly was doing, it's obvious. It's so obvious why she's single. I hate to say this about another Black woman. I mean, not like she has great expectations. I think that she just is trying to rush the process, and I understand it. I mean, she's not in her 30s yet. They're still under their 30s. They're like in their late 20s. And so she hasn't felt it yet, but when all your friends are getting married, and I guess for her, that's when they start. When you're in your late 20s, that's when it really starts. And all of a sudden you're going to weddings every single summer and fall, you're going to weddings or someone's baby shower. And if you're single, like I am, and Molly is, you're just like, oh my gosh, like you meet someone and you think they're great and you just want to speed up the process. And you notice just through her actions how real that is, that it's not the best way to go. You don't have like a scandal type Olivia Pope, meet a guy and, you know, make out with him, have sex with him, and all of a sudden he's your boo. It don't happen like that. It does not happen like that in real life. I love the realism of this show. Molly is moving way too fast, and she shouldn't have curbed Jared, even though I know I probably would have curbed Jared too, because he didn't go to college and he works at Enterprise, and now I feel like an idiot, and maybe I should look through people that I've curbed because of that. And oh my gosh. But anyway, Jared is a good dude that actually was interested in being in a relationship with her, getting to know her, being around her, going to these weddings and these engagement parties and baby showers and all this stuff with her, all the things that she wants to do, but with a lead guy. And so she's really it's just her shady behavior got at her in this situation. I think that's really what this episode is about. You know, Lawrence's shady behavior made, you know, Sister Girl think that she had a chance with him, and she really didn't. And so he cut that off immediately. And then Issa, her shady dealings, I was like, girl, you are drinking that brown liquor, you're getting a contact high from all these dudes smoking around you, and then you in here with your sexy love, fantasizing about him, chocolate ass, freaking just sexual chocolateness that you are attracted to, that he's your what if guy, and you're alone together in a studio and it's dark and there's a couch, you're going to have sex with him. And she did, and that her shady behavior got her into a hole that we're going to have to see how she digs herself out of, because now she has not only just kissed Daniel like she did on the first episode, she's now had sex with him. And knowing Issa, it's going to eat her up if she doesn't tell Lawrence, especially since I'm like, girl, you live with Lawrence. It's not like you don't live with your man and you can just kind of avoid him. He lives with you. You're going to come home. He's going to be on the couch watching TV, asking you how your day is, and then you have to go to bed with him. And you're going to feel, and if you're a good person, you're going to feel like shit. And so, yes, this episode was the shit. It was so great. And I literally, for the last 5 minutes, I mean like literally the last 5 minutes of the show, I was watching like this. Ooh, girl. No. Oh, man. Whew. Well, anyway, thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with episode 6. I can't wait to see the aftermath of all the shady behavior for Molly and for Issa. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Let me know what you thought about this episode, what you think about my recap and reviews, and I will see you guys later from my bathroom mirror on. Let my hair wrap.